Welcome back to the last session of the last day of this year's summer LibreFest 2024. We have only two presentations left, one more formal than the other. I'm handling the last part, but I'm excited in order to present Raymond Oenbring. I presume I pronounced the last name properly. Uh, he presented to us a beautiful technology that was so beautiful that we wanted to integrate it into the LibreVerse as a component that all of you have access to once it's fully integrated appropriately. But I could not do a good job of presenting its beauty, so it was great in order to have the master who created it to present it here. So with that, I'll let Raymond take the screen, which it appears that he has done, and give all the beauties behind antecedent writing and such. So take it away, Raymond.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for letting me speak. Thank you very much to Dr. Larson for inviting us to bring our technology to the LibreVerse. It's truly inspiring what you created. So yes, I have to emphasize we're at the very beginning of our collaboration. So we don't have any idea about availability or pricing yet. But we want to make it available to the most amount of people for the lowest cost. It's a little bit resource intensive. As all of these things, there's always the cost of having to run it on the server. And you need some people who know what they're doing, tech people who know what they're doing to maintain and continue to develop these technologies. Okay, so right. So who am I? Well, I'm a English professor and the writing program coordinator at the University of the Bahamas. We've been working on this technology for 2.5 years. It's been tested at a few institutions this past academic year. We're now confident enough in its abilities that we think it's ready for wider adoption. So my PhD is in English composition and linguistics from the University of Washington. We've so basically I'm a compositionist. I teach academic writing classes that are taught at pretty much every college and university in the United States, and less so outside of the United States. But anyway, that's something else. Anyway, and yeah. And why am I here? Well, I'm concerned about academic integrity in the AI era. I'm certainly not anti-tech. I like tech, but I'm, this is the core of what we do when we teach academic writing, is getting students to produce their own writing, to think about what they're doing, to try to give some effort. And AI allows them to do none of those things. Which is a problem. So yes, I'm not anti-tech. I'm certainly anti-technology that allows students to totally turn off their brain. I work at an institution with limited resources. They can't afford expensive educational technologies or textbooks. And I work with students who can't afford those things either. I believe in faculty-led educational technologies. It's really inspiring what Dr. Larson has built, and I'm very happy to bring our tech to this expanding LibreVerse. I believe in the responsible use of student data. It's clear to me that this tool would involve access to new streams of student data that would collect new streams of student data that we haven't had before. So I wanted that to be available to faculty in a responsible way, and for it to not just be harvested by technology companies to sell us their next horror and to have leverage over us. Clearly, there's a research tool here to me as well, and I wanted that data to be available to faculty for research, but in a responsible way, and the way they could comply with campus regulations. Yeah. And I did not want these technologies to be dominated by traditional ed tech companies. That was why I personally decided that 3 years ago that I have to do this. Anyway, uh, so uh, you've probably heard about the problems with what we call AI detectors. There's a variety of them on the market. Um, they provide an unacceptable number of false negatives and false positives. The false positives being more concerning, and that this labeling original human writing as AI. Um, Students can easily defeat these AI detectors by using paraphrasing tools like Quillbot, which many of the students were already using before ChatGPT dropped. All they have to do is take their ChatGPT essay, run it through Quillbot or Grammarly, yada, 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 and then it's no longer detectable. But ultimately, to me, that the worst problem with the AI detection approach is that these tools are generally black boxed and provide the instructor with no evidence beyond the algorithmic judgment. So basically, there's no proof, even though you can say, "Oh yeah, this is obviously AI." Um, there's no proof that you can show to the student, and they can always say, "My aunt helped me," or "I used Grammarly," and Grammarly is fully on board with generative AI anyway. Uh, okay, so we're using a different approach. It was clear to me at the beginning of this that a different approach would be based on the process of writing, which is something that we focus on as the core of what we focus on in our pedagogy of teaching academic writing, which has been the core of academic writing pedagogy for decades. Um, so it would be based on a few principles, this tool. First, we would kind of have to move beyond the traditional idea that the student writes their work by themselves and then submits it to the student for submits it to the instructor for assessment. Um, uh, Pretty much the tech industry has done this for us because um, pretty much everything's directly or indirectly under the influence of AI now, at least among my students. Um, So instead, we would need to understand student writing as a collaborative task between students and instructors. Um, the tool would need to provide instructors with rich activity analytics about students' writing processes. And it would need to be designed around an iterative drafting process with rich feedback from the instructor and from the technology. Something that we've always done as a way to support academic integrity in the teaching of English composition was to break up the student essays and assignments into kind of iterative process. So you have the student, this is something we did well before the advent of AI. The problem that the concern at that point was having students using paid ghostwriters. What we would do is we would have the student write the introductory paragraph, the instructor gives feedback and suggestions, then the student writes the rough draft, the instructor gives feedback and suggestions, and then the student writes the final draft, and the student gives feedback. Then the student continues to write, and the instructor gives feedback. So you, as the instructor, can watch the assignment grow and grow organically, and you've actually directed its growth. So you can make sure that it accords with what you're asking for, your specific requirements. So the way it works is basically the instructor creates the assignments, they create the drafts, the students write their assignments in a browser-based word processor. This is the Collabora word processor, which is Collabora is an open source product. It's a web browser-based, cloud-based, fully functional word processor, not just a rich text editor. Um, so this is Collabora is the main company bringing LibreOffice to the cloud. LibreOffice, if you're familiar with it, is the main open source alternative to Microsoft Word. So Dr. Larson, very happy. We're bringing LibreOffice to the LibreVerse, and he loves the Libre prefix. So there's another Libre being brought into the LibreVerse. Yeah, and this is a fully functional browser-based word processor. It has all the major functionalities of uh, Word and Office 365 and Google Docs. You can write at the same time as the students. Multiple students can be writing in the same document, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what this looks like on the student side. And then this is what it looks like on the instructor side. It provides the rich analytics about the students' writing process. So this is one of our you can make the analytics available to the students if you like. There's a choice. Excuse me. So this is one of our signature analytics. We call this the essay map. So it's basically, it's a graph showing the entire editing history of the document. So time is on the x-axis here. The physical location in the text of the edit is on the y-axis. So, but we flip the y-axis from a conventional graph so that the origin is at the top and further on is at the bottom, like a written document. The green circles are the paste-ins. The larger the paste-in, the larger the circle, the red circles are deletions. So basically, students got their ChatGPT essay, they pasted in all at once. It just looks like a giant green circle. This is what happens if, this is the graph if a student just types out their ChatGPT essay, or they just type out something with no effort. They just type out something totally linearly. It just looks like a straight line from upper left to bottom right. They're just typing out a ChatGPT essay. There's no composition. There's no going back, no editing it. It just looks like a straight line. And the system gives grades, advisory grades, if you will, for effort and revision. We'll come back to that in a sec. So that's what it looks like if they just type out a essay linearly with no effort and revision. This is the student wrote the introduction, they wrote the conclusion, and then they pasted in the body paragraphs essay. There's the giant green, the circles, so most of the essay was just pasted in. So this one gets an F for effort as well. Whereas what we really want to see is something like this. This is a effort essay. It's much more fragmented. It's archipelagic. The student went back, they edited stuff. There's obviously a lot more effort going on here. And that's good. And all of that time and effort, and that's hard to fake. So yeah, so as I said, it gives effort and revision scores. They're produced by an algorithm. It's not perfect. They're kind of meant to be sort of smell tests, if you will, for the instructor, because we all have tons of essays to grade. So yeah, so if it gets a F, if it gets F for effort and revision, then you should probably investigate the analytics. If it gets A's or B's, then you can just treat it like you would for a normal assignment. But we definitely recommend that you include effort and revision as give it some weight in grading. Now, you don't have to follow the grades given by the technology, but it should have some teeth because we want to reward students for trying. And conversely, we want to discourage students for not trying. So that's kind of the whole idea behind this. So this is an example of how you might, this rubric is an example of how you might, grade breakdown is an example of how you might, what you might use for like a academic essay. It provides various other analytics. We call this the heat map. So it's like the hours of the day are the columns, the days of the rows. So this student worked on this assignment for multiple hours over multiple days. So that's a good sign. What we don't want to see is a single red rectangle. You also have this word change graph, which shows the change in word count every minute while the student was writing. So this is an example of a high effort essay. So the student spent, as we can see, some more than 8 hours writing in total. The change in word count is so as we can see, most of the change in word count is down here in the yellowish zone. That's good. That means the whole thing came in very slowly, relatively slowly. Yes, some students were type faster than others. That's some having it come in quickly, type quickly is not a problem in and of itself. But certainly, if it's typed out quickly, and that's a sign that they're not thinking very much, potentially. And then of course, the big spikes would be evidence for copy-ins. And so, and then if there's cutting and pasting with the document, there could be, or copying and pasting within the document, there will be a spike followed or preceded by a dip. And that's what these are, these ones over here. So this is all just evidence that this is all just analytics, all data about the writing process that you as the instructor can use. You can do whatever you want to with it. You can ignore it. You can do whatever you want to with it. And then we have this rewind essay feature, which is essentially an animation that shows the entire editing history of the document that you can queue up. Okay, I can do a live demo now. Are you seeing it? Yes. So this is the instructor side. Yes, this is the instructor side. So this is just a lorem ipsum essay that I typed in. I was a bad student. So as you can see, it's giving it F for effort, F for revision. So I click on analytics here, brings up the essay maps. Oh, that's the word change graph. So as you can see, there's a very large spike here of 1,658 words. The essay map visualization is like this. So a whole bunch of language came in at once. And then we can watch the rewind is the animation. Sorry. And then so there's a big spike here. I want to see what happened here. It's right here. Yes. So, and what else? We have various other time metrics. It differentiates between what we call active writing time and think pause time. Active writing time is the time that the student is consistently writing. All of that added up. Whereas think pause time is the sum of all of these sort of short pauses. So if you're just typing out previously existing language, it's going to have a higher percentage of active writing time to think pause time, because if you're actually composing something, there's going to be all these micro pauses where you're thinking about your language choices. But the cognitive effort involved in typing out previously existing language is much less. So the active writing time over think pause time leads to the rush ratio, which is another metric. So yes, as I said, we've been working on this. We're really excited about it. Yes, there's certainly some more improvements to be made. Yes, Let me go back to my slideshow from current slide. Um, yes, I'm very happy to be able to bring our technology to the LibreVerse. I am very happy to demo our technology for people at your campus if you're interested. Um, as I said, we want to get it fully connected into the LibreVerse ASAP. But yeah, I don't know when that will be, hopefully within the coming weeks and months. But if you want to try it out right now, you can try it out. I can approve your instructor count if you go to antecedent writing. If you log in, and if you create the instructor account, you give a URL that shows your instructor. It will create an instructor account with you with a dummy fake student essay in there that you can try out the analytics for. And then we have a instructor guide. We also have links to some instructional YouTube videos that you can watch. Yes, and I'm very happy to do my demo for your people, and or yeah, whatever you would want. And I'm very happy to thank you all for listening to my presentation. And I guess I have time for a few questions.
You have time. It's fine. I'm not going to be taking up the time afterwards much. There was a question that Kestrel asked in the chat. I'll just mention it and hopefully do it justice. How do you account for different writing processes that don't include AI, but may not look exactly like these writing processes, particularly thinking of things like people with learning disabilities and such?
Right. So, I mean, yes, when they're using, say, yes, so that's up to the instructor, of course, however they want to apply it. Um, uh, when they use, say, speech to text, yeah, it'll come in a little bit differently. And it has a very distinctive pattern in the essay map. Um, but yeah, of course, students learn differently and they write differently. And yes, I'm sure that not everyone will believe that this is the approach that they want to use. Um,
Well, how
yes,
do you know how that would show up in the map that you
because it comes in more like chunks.
it does, okay.
Like, can you also compare writing maps for the same student over time with different essays? Uh, no, you can't do that yet, but that's certainly something we have in mind. Yes, I really do think that we have there's a lot of potential here, but what we need is uh, you know revenue, and we need to be able to pay developers to be able to add that technology. But yes, that's certainly something we thought about.
So one of the things I wanted to do with text-based submissions in the Adapt homework system was to be able to operate a bit about like how Turnitin does in order to be able to compare submissions in the it compares submissions either in the assignment itself or in past assignments for that class in order to identify copies. Uh, so that you can see if people copy off of each other or they copy from a single source and such. I presume that's nothing that you have thought about in your infrastructure, or is that?
Not yet, no. Um, I mean, my experience is that the students are all smart enough to at least run it through a paraphraser.
Oh
And
no,
so,
I find many students just copying directly what they get off the internet or from other source without going through cleanup. So maybe you have better cheaters than I do. But yeah.
no, we don't have that yet. But certainly those things are things we could add if that's those are things that people want.
Yeah. Or it would be a secondary thing in order to be able to do that. They just can complement it. Same thing with how we use AI to help facilitate TA's grading of lab reports in order to identify if the rubric is put in place and such. Does voice to text conversion show up similarly uh, in a way that might be the F that you show, just basically a continuous line if if they were using that. I'm not entirely sure people do that for composition nowadays or ever.
Um,
But yeah.
well, students do use it whether we like it or not. Um, so right. So yes, it definitely has a tendency to lower the student's grade, but there is a clear the pattern that it provides in the essay map is pretty clear. So I encourage instructors before they mark a student down to look at the analytics too, because yes, you don't want to rely upon the algorithm uh, totally by itself. Um, but nonetheless, we would expect them to, at least in the composition class, we would clearly expect students to go back and edit it and not have it just be the first draft. Um, I guess that's a kind of a key idea behind this technology that I think clearly works in English composition, but may not work so well in say STEM fields, as in English we expect that the assignment will go through multiple drafts, major assignments at least, um, and that the first it's not just about getting something that's uh, quote accurate uh,
Well,
on paper.
we do have
Um,
standards in the STEM field for writing. Uh,
no. I mean, do you regularly have students submit drafts of their lab reports and then? Uh,
No, I don't. I've heard it from time to time in the very beginning to teach someone how a lab report is supposed to be structured, big, but not routinely, at least not the way I teach it. Other
yeah, that's
STEM scientists here or STEM instructors here might have a different approach for doing so. Um, uh, uh,
But that's what
yeah.
I mean. It's like it's most effective this approach if you break up the assignment into multiple steps and you're kind of really pushing the process. Um, but yeah, that involves more work on the instructor side because you're reading the same assignment multiple times. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, you certainly can use it for one and done assignments, but obviously it's most effective on longer assignments um, that involve multiple drafts. Yeah,
Great. Uh,
and yeah,
Josh, yeah.
yes, Dr. Halpern,
Yeah,
yes.
it strikes me you've opened up a very interesting box here. There's an enormous amount of work on pattern recognition, and you've shown how to generate a pattern for writing. But and you're applying simple rules to try and figure out what the students are doing. Uh, but I think there's something here that could generate uh, kind of an automation of the marking, learning about the patterns and then using, I hate to use the word AI, but using AI to grade the likelihood of what the students are doing.
Sure. I'm not a, we have quote AI involved already. I can certainly see, and see having more AI involved in terms of adaptive feedback to the student and things like that. But I am totally anti AI that just allows students to
Yeah,
have ChatGPT write their entire thing for them. Um, yeah, that's
I
basically
mean,
it.
what I'm saying is you could use AI to spot AI if you have a system for recognizing patterns, and you've clearly found one.
Right. So we could certainly, the AI detection algorithms are open source, and we could incorporate them relatively easily. We're not there yet because
Mhm.
Yeah.
also,
I
I
think
mean,
Josh
certainly
is
the whole
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I think Josh is talking about just more traditional analytical approaches for your maps in order to identify the best practices, saying this is indicative of this sort of person, this is indicative of this behavior based on the analysis of the map rather than the actual analysis of the text that's on there using these things.
Certainly, that's why I called it writing analytics rather than AI detection. You know,
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of really interesting and rich data about student writing, student learning that we would have access to with this approach. But yes, it needs to be dealt with appropriately and respectfully, and not just and that's why I believe that educators needed to be at the core of this and not just ed tech people who are trying to make money, because it really requires some educator forward thinking about uh, how to what we're going to do with this. Yes.
Hi, my
Dr.
name
Garcia. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. One of the questions we have several science courses that they have the upper writing level courses where students write a review, for example. And but one of the professors that I'm working with, she wants to establish a peer review process. So students work together to revise their documents. I would like to know if in your system it allows, for example, students to have access to other students' essays and input comments. How does it work with that?
It has not been deployed yet, but yes, that's something that the developer has just finished with. So I guess we can call that in beta now. But yeah, that's going to be a really cool. That's going to be a really cool addition, which is something that compositionists I think are really going to be looking forward to. And
Perfect.
I guess
Thank
it
you
also, we don't have another thing we can add is say, you have group projects, and students complain that I did all this work and I did all this writing and yada yada yada. This would provide us a way for to keep track of who did what, and yeah. So if it's the case that one student carried their group, then we would have some data about that instructors could use.
So that dovetails both the question and the technology into something that we put into a proposal that wasn't funded last year, but we're revisiting this year, which is to introduce an open pedagogy infrastructure into ADAPT. So I'm not into ADAPT into the greater LibreVerse. I mentioned when we started the LibreText, then the ChemWiki, that it was predominantly using students in what's now referred to as open pedagogy. I'm not sure if that term existed back then, and if it did, I certainly didn't know about it, but using students in order to construct what's now referred to as non-disposable assignments, those things that are not just thrown away, but they're able to build upon it and go with it. The issue that I had, and I have this in general with all conversations around open pedagogy in the community, because people like to talk about how great they are and they show the products, but rarely do people talk about the actual infrastructure to facilitate open pedagogy, and especially to facilitate open pedagogy in a class of 500 students, which is what I would be teaching if I were teaching the large general chemistry classes in my university. So in order to facilitate that, I wanted to build a technology, which wouldn't be too difficult, that would that students can build in a centralized area. And what Raymond introduced is one way in order to go about doing that, or provide a construction of something and then uploading that attachment, have a stage for peer review or peer annotation and such like that could be anonymized or not anonymized, and then a second stage or third stage dealing with construction and reevaluation. This workflow is designed around what the steps you do in order to submit a manuscript, and I use it to teach in graduate level classes on how you actually proceed off of that. But the approach of making it automatic, you submit something, it automatically selects the random students from the class. They come in, they review anonymously, you come back again in order to process that. It improves the final product immensely. And it's beneficial pedagogically for the reviewers, for the other students that are coming off of it. That's my dream in order to do stuff. I didn't talk to Raymond about that, but I'd love to learn more about how they're planning on doing these things and see if those two ideas can mix. So anyways, sorry to chime in there, but I've been dreaming about this for a while.
No, I mean, basically, yes. As I said, we're at the very beginning of our collaboration, and hopefully it will be productive. And yes, but we do need we need to make it financially sustainable. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
through grants or
Right.
yes, those sorts of things.
Yeah. And
Um,
we'll talk details about that. Ron,
Indeed.
yeah, Ron was
Thank you.
talking about expanding beyond composition into other uh, other form factors and analytics. And I will mention that heat map idea that Raymond put together, we were formulating something similar into the new analytics for ADAPT in order to identify when students do their problems and also when they do their problems relative to the deadline when things are due, because you can identify
I mean,
crammers or procrastinators or other classifications off of that. I like the heat map
yes.
idea.
I mean, certainly that's, I guess some people are like, oh, now you're spying on students and you can see whether they're doing their work at 3 a.m. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure that they're not, doing the whole thing in an hour. that's a sign that you didn't try. And certainly in composition, I don't know about other places, certainly in composition, the fact that you didn't try is something you can hold against the student, even if you can't prove that they're using AI or not.
And it gives you ammunition when they declare that they did try and that they deserve a high
Exactly.
grade.
Yes. Oh, you
It's like,
spent half an hour on this. Right. Right. So I mean, I think clearly you could use a similar idea for like coding. Uh, you could for the teaching of computer coding because ChatGPT will gladly crank out computer text, computer code as well, which is a problem. And maybe if we make that clear to the rest, to the business people that we're going to be cranking out a generation of coders that can't code, of computer scientists who can't code, then maybe they'll pay a little more attention to this, but they probably won't. Anyway,
no, actually, they would. I mean, there'd be many computer science instructors that would be concerned about the aspect of just being able to come in and overwrite the code, because writing a code programming classes, it follows the same approach as composition classes. You write, you submit, they may review and they read the code and such like that. And there's a little bit more capabilities of evaluating the code, like using Jupyter or other things in order to do so. But the similarities are actually very close to each other. I didn't
but
actually.
yeah, I definitely think that yeah, I clearly believe that there's lots of potential here, but yeah, we need buy-in and we need yeah, we need money.
Rebel made one word in here, Dreamweaver, which was I don't know if it still exists, an interface to build websites. And every time that you would use it, it made the most atrocious HTML that no one could edit after that. I don't know if that's Rebel's references to here, but I hated it because you didn't know what you were creating. I mean, you knew what you're creating, but you didn't know what was underneath the hood. Yeah, cheating has been around for a while.
Of course, of course it has, um yeah, of course.
Sounds
Yes.
great.
Pre-ChatGPT, the problem was students paying one another or other people to write their assignments for them.
Right. The business model for Chegg and Course Hero and other parasitic
Yes, exactly.
um, okay. With
It
that,
was a cottage industry on my campus. Anyway, so
thank you very much, Raymond. That was beautiful. And I love the conversation. Is your email address in the PowerPoint presentation, or did you put it into
yeah, it should be on screen right now, isn't it? No?
actually, I can't find the screen. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. I'll be posting this video in a few hours.
Also, that's my campus email. Yeah.
There you
Feel
go.
free to email me. Yes, as I said, happy to do a demo for your people. And if you want to, you can just sign up right now. This is it would be on our server. But if you just want to try it out, check it out, you can sign up there for an instructor account. But yes, thank you so much, everyone.
There you go. Thank you very much. And then we will continue the conversation. So we have a half hour left before we get into reflections and we end things off. So we're going to end with a little bit more topical conversation. So while Raymond was talking about AI detection and trying to remediate the influence of AI in your classroom, I'm going to take the other stance in this conversation and talk about how we're introducing AI in order to provide a more powerful interface to the textbooks that are hosted on our library. And that couples with other benefits like a more powerful search capability and the ability in order to build at least the starting points of things like learning curves or identifying questions that are applicable for certain learning objectives or aligning questions to learning objectives and other things that can be a very time-consuming process that the statistical nature of large language models are actually well suited for doing. And there are many things that large language models are not well suited for doing, but I'm not going to be discussing that other than commenting that it's worthwhile to remember that AI is not able to do everything despite some people's claim out there. So let me take the screen